To the Hernandezes, the thought of their Norberto jumping was impossible. To them, it was a betrayal of love and faith. To others, the idea of identifying the falling man smacked of voyeurism. The chef, Michael Lomanico, had worked with Norberto for nearly 14 years.
What do we stand to gain by identifying this person? What's the purpose of this? Why this exercise in trying to look at this photo and understand who's in it? What will we ever know about this photograph that it doesn't already say on its own?
But Tom Junot was sure that the only way to remove the stigma surrounding the falling man and the rest of the jumpers was to discover more about them.
I felt that the idea of people jumping, I felt that the jumpers, I felt that the falling man had been sort of pushed to the side. There was an element of exclusion, that he died improperly, that we want to remember this day for its heroism. And whether we think of the jumpers as heroic or not, they should not be excluded from the consecrated ground of American soil because they died in a way that makes us uncomfortable.
Junot was convinced that America needed to confront the falling man, a harrowing symbol of 9/11, instead of pretending he didn't exist. He then found someone who provided justification for his mission. Someone who'd found comfort and peace by accepting that his loved one may have jumped.
It had to be so intense up there, and there was no other way out, that it was either burn alive or go quickly. I envisioned that it had to be the towering inferno. And from the photos I saw, it obviously was. Who knows how much smoke was in there? You know, do you suffocate to death or do you jump? I think it was brave to do that. When the media started posting photographs, then I started searching to see if Karen was one of those jumpers. After a while, it just became an obsession with me. I was so intense on just finding something. I found some photos in my search that I think was Karen jumping. I know it's her because the clothes and the shape, I would know her from a shadow. She had a blue sweater top on, sleeveless, and cream-colored pants. If you look at the pictures that I have, I mean, that's what I see. It wasn't painful for some reason. It really wasn't. I finally, have something I can hold on to here. This is where she was, and this is how she died. She jumped. She didn't burn up. She didn't become dust. Nothing is more painful than losing her. But not knowing how I lost her was even more painful. So now that I believe that that's what took place, it's not painful for me to talk about it. And if she jumped, she jumped.
If Tom Junot wanted to create an acceptance of the image, he would first need to create an understanding of it. He then discovered from the photographer Richard Drew that the picture was just one of a sequence of 12.
When I looked at that series, the outtakes, the story became a different story for me. I thought it was probably a light-skinned black man. Somebody who had his hair cut so short that you could see his scalp. Somebody who was tall, kind of lanky. So that was also the beginning of me thinking that, well, this might not be Norberto Hernandez after all. This might be someone else.
For Tom Junot, the search for the falling man had just begun. As the months passed, the search for bodies was replaced by a clean-up operation. The goal now was to remove any reminder of the country's day of horror and begin the healing process. One memory had been wiped from the record long ago: the photograph of a man falling from the sky, and with it, the story of the jumpers. Writer Tom Janot wanted to make sure that healing didn't mean forgetting. If America accepted the image of the falling man, that would never happen. In his quest, he then discovered that the photograph was part of a sequence.
When I looked at that series, the outtakes, the story became a different story for me. He's clearly falling. It's not this almost Zen-like acceptance of his fate. He is panicking, he is rolling through the air. As he does that, the turbulence pulls his shirt off, and the white shirt that he's wearing comes off enough to reveal that he is wearing underneath that white shirt an orange t-shirt. Well, that was new information.
Janot reluctantly decided to contact the Hernandez family. He knew they were grief-stricken and angry at the media for naming Norberto. But if he could convince them to look at the new photos, he would be able to rule out or confirm Norberto as the falling man. Surprisingly, the family agreed to see him.
You go to the house, and it's essentially a shrine to Norberto and the life that they had with Norberto. And there's pictures of him, everywhere. In the beginning, Catherine did all the talking for her mother. But as time went on, Eulogio became more and more eager to tell, the story. And her eagerness was expressed most positively when I asked her if she knew what Norberto had worn that morning. Was he wearing an orange t-shirt?
No. No, nunca.
No, never. That day he was wearing black trainers, white socks, stonewashed blue jeans, and a blue-colored shirt with patterns.
Y la camisa igual, azul con diseño.
While speaking to the family, Janot was shocked to realize that none of them had ever looked at the original photo. The thought had been too painful. Here was an opportunity to confirm, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Norberto was not the falling man. He tentatively asked Catherine whether she wanted to look. She leapt at the chance.
As soon as I saw the picture, I was like, this is my dad. The facial and the color, it wasn't him. You could immediately tell it wasn't him.
Suddenly, Eulogio was over our shoulder. She had come out, and she said, "Let me see those."
Yo estaba curiosa.
I was curious. I had to see it. I had to see it. It was obvious it wasn't him. From that day, everything changed at home. Everything changed. I changed. I was no longer in such a bad way. Before that, I was in a bad way. In a very bad way.
Catherine said, "I don't know what I would have done if that was my father. I think I would have had a nervous breakdown." Everything that they thought that their family represented was